Welcome to my car review of this 2016 Hyundai Accent. This Hyundai Accent comes with a 1.6-liter naturally aspirated inline-4 with direct fuel injection and variable valve timing. It puts out 137 horsepower at 6,300 RPM and 123 pound-feet of torque at 4,850 RPM. It redlines at about 6,750, and the engine is rated for 26 city miles per gallon, 37 highway, and 30 combined. This G4 FD Gamma GDI Hyundai engine has a decent 11:1 compression ratio and weighs around 2,555 pounds curb weight. 0 to 60 comes in at around 8.6 seconds, and it maxes out at a top speed of 120 miles per hour. This car is a front-engine, front-wheel drive, 4th generation sedan version of the Hyundai Accent, and this one comes with a 6-speed automatic transmission. The 4th generation Hyundai Accent punches in well at the subcompact class, pairing a great powertrain with great handling. The subcompact class is an interesting one, as most people consider it to be an intro vehicle segment, and the smallest segment, which actually has two different size classes under it. You have the A segment, such as the Smart 4 or the Fiat 500, and then the larger B class, such as the Hyundai Accent or Ford Fiesta. And in the minds of many, the B segment is usually deemed safe and about as small as most are willing to go, while the A segments are generally relegated to sacrificing a lot of size for the fuel efficiency or compact parking. Simply put, most don't really feel very safe in A segment cars, but the B segments are popular as entry level. Alright, when it comes to the exterior of the car, it looks so much better than the 3rd generation, and it follows the corporate styling cues that really trickle down from the Sonata. But in my opinion, the styling was captured perfectly in the Elantra. Overall, for the Accent, the styling looks pretty good. Not as nice as the Ford Fiesta, but it's more shapely than, let's say, the Yaris, and it's less conservative than anything from Volkswagen. The interior is pretty Spartan. Besides the center console, everything in this car looks very cheap, and it's surrounded by hard-touch plastic and this fake leather grain plastic. And yeah, you're not going to impress anyone in this car. Now, the seats are comfortable enough in the front, with the driver's side getting a center armrest. And the steering wheel is cheap and hard to touch, and it may slip a little, but the weight and the feeling of the steering is surprisingly precise. You can tell how cheap the car is and the materials used, where only the center console is really trickled down from the Big Brother car models. And just look at the trunk for cheapness. So, the back seats are small, and this is technically a 5-seater, but any more than 2 adults will not fit comfortably in the back. The legroom and headroom is just enough for my average male height of 5'9", 5'10". The center seat can barely fit children, and probably won't even with 2 adults, but I think 3 children would fit okay back here. When it comes to the overall comfort, the car is cheap, the seats aren't super comfortable, the front are better than the back, and I really can't say that this car is very comfortable. As for the features, this car has almost no features. Besides the center console, that comes trickling down from the Big Brother models, yeah, the USB and the AUX is nice, but everything else is very cheap for the segment. Now, as far as the power goes, this little 1.6-liter really punches above its weight class, and I really want to emphasize this. It provides a strong 138 horsepower for the weight of the car. Sure, the acceleration won't blow you away, and when I was driving this car in Colorado with the elevation, it really wasn't great. But it feels like it's just enough for this chassis. Just to give you an idea, to compare it to others in its class, the power-to-weight ratio of a 4-door Toyota Yaris is 22 pounds per horsepower. For a Ford Fiesta, 21.5. For the Chevy Sonic, you got 20.5 pounds, and the Honda Fit, a little more than 19.5. But what about the Accent? 18.64 pounds per horsepower. That is class-leading. Okay, in the realm of suspension and handling, this car really surprised me. I've driven the Elantra of this generation, and it was okay, not great, but a little floaty. The Accent, however, gets rid of most of that float, and the steering is surprisingly neat and precise. Okay, now for the pros and cons. For the pros, this car is a cheap entry-level B segment car that has good power to weight and handling. Fuel efficiency is pretty good, though others in this segment can do it better, but it's still solid. I really liked the manual shifting because in small engines like this, really you want to keep the power and control for better fuel mileage. So sometimes you have to force it to stay and not downshift. For the cons, the car is cheap and it shows, really on the inside. The trunk is exposed and the interior bits use the cheapest materials. Other cars in the segment from Toyota and Honda are definitely better in this category. So I've decided to do something new in this channel and for these car reviews. I've decided to start ranking vehicles, and this is the first video in which I will be doing this. So I will be ranking vehicles from 1 to 7 in the following categories. Number 1, looks. And this is going to be my completely subjective opinions. Number 2, acceleration, which will be rated on 0 to 60 times according to the following. A perfect 7 will be under 3 seconds for 0 to 60 time. A 6 is going to be between 3 and 4 seconds. A 5 between 4 and 5 seconds, and so on and so forth. 1 point for each second. Now, a number 1, the worst rating, will be over 8 seconds. Now, the third category is handling, and this is also fairly subjective, but I'll have to rate it somewhere on the chart filled with other cars I've driven. A perfect 7 I'll give to the Lotus Elise, because that is by far the best handling car I've ever driven. I would probably give a 6 to maybe something like the Porsche Cayman or a Mazda Miata. A number 5 I would give to maybe a Subaru WRX. On number 4 I would give to kind of a normal, sportier, lighter car such as a Hyundai Accent. Number 3 I would give to probably something bigger and slower, maybe like a sporty SUV like a Mazda CX-5. Number 2, I would give to something like a minivan, a Toyota Sienna. And a number 1, I'll have to give that to the U-Haul 10-foot box truck that I rented. Yeah, that was horrendous. All right, the next category is luxury. And this is simply how luxurious the car is, regarding the materials, any exotic materials used, as well as features and technology. The next category is practicality, and this will rate how usable the vehicle is regarding storage and daily usage. The next category is quality and reliability, which will rate the maintenance, complexity of doing DIY stuff, and frequency of breakdowns. This will take into consideration a vehicle make's reputation on the J.D. Power and Associates lists. And finally, value will rate the overall value of the current market value and about how much of a good deal I perceive it to be. All right, so on to the ranking. All right, for looks, I'll give it a 3 out of 7. The Hyundai Accent is definitely much improved over the previous generations, but the previous generations never looked at all good. All right, in the next category, we have acceleration, which this car gets a 1. Simply put, the 0 to 60 time is over 8 seconds. Okay, in the handling department, I'll actually give this like a 4, because I do think that other cars, such as the Hyundai Accent and the Toyota Yaris, are very lightweight, and the handling is surprisingly good. In the category of luxury, I give it a 1. Look, there are no frills. The luxury is just, there is none here. Okay, when it comes to practicality, I'll give it a 3 out of 7. And mostly that's attributed to the fact that this car has very good fuel mileage. It's practical because it's cheap and easy to maintain, but when it comes to storage space, it doesn't really have quite that much. Okay, quality and reliability. I give this a 3 out of 7. Hyundai has definitely come a long way since even the mid-2000s when their cars really weren't that reliable. They didn't last very long, but they really stepped up their game, and especially Hyundai has one of the best warranties out there on the market today. Now, I do have to dock some points because the quality isn't the best, just because it's such a cheap car. Now, lastly, I'll give value a 5 out of 7. At roughly my market research put this car at $16,000, and I think just the fact that it's so cheap for a new vehicle, yeah, you're not going to get a better handling and power to weight ratio car for around this price. I think it's perfectly practical and a great entry level car for a new driver. So that puts the total score at 20. And yeah, that's the first car that I have reviewed that I have scored. So hopefully, the next vehicles that I get a chance to review will have some comparisons. And yeah, I hope to see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed this car review of this 2016 Hyundai Accent. All right, see you guys next time. Peace.